Reality check. Homesteading is not all it's cracked up to be. Don't get me wrong. So the romanticized image of homesteading often overshadows the realities and the demands of this lifestyle. So I'm going to go over the pros, the cons, balancing the pros and cons, and embracing the homestead journey that hopefully you will take sooner than later. Let's start right now. One of the big things is the time commitment. A lot of you work right now, go to work every day, maybe do 40 hours, maybe as a typical American do 50 hours or more. I was one of those people. Plus the commute, don't forget the commute. So now with homesteading, you're living here and you are here all the time. Unfortunately, fortunately, any of you who have worked from home know that sometimes you overwork because it's convenient, it's right there, and that is how homesteading is. There is always something to do here. So I am constantly busy, constantly working on something. There's constantly something broken, constantly something that needs to be fixed. There used to be a joke, and I will post this. I was in quality control and project management, and we used to have this, those motivational posters, and it said something like, I'll post it in here because I got to find it, but it's like, those ones that say like the road to whatever leads to whatever, and they're just kind of these motivational posters. And it says something like where quality control is a death march because there is no finish line. It's just a continuous struggle. And that's how homesteading is. The other con, I would say, is the financial investment. A lot of people don't think about the finances and they think, oh, it's going to be cheap living off the land. It's going to be, inexpensive. And you need to think of a lot of things such as, which is right behind me right now. Solar. There's solar panels, power. You're probably going to need a tractor. You're probably going to want an ATV, UTV. You're going to need animals. Unless you breed wild animals, you're going to have to buy your initial, chickens, goats, cows. And if you haven't looked, prices are not cheap on any of that stuff. And if you're like us and you live very remote, you're going to need four-wheel drive vehicle, you're gonna need at least a car, you're gonna need a chainsaw, you're gonna need, you name it, you're gonna need it. And if you're buying raw land, you're gonna still need to build a house. There's so much that people don't realize the cost. Digging a well, rain catchment system, security for the homestead, internet. Starlink right now is over $100 and something a month. That's a big expense. Our Starlink is also our phone line because we do not get cell reception here. We're so far out. So keep that in mind too. There's just everywhere I look here, it's an expense. We've got animals, fencing, just you name it. It's an expense. So keep that in mind. That is a big con that a lot of people think like, oh, we're going to live simply, we're going to, not spend any money, and then they realize, oh wait, we need to get a tractor. Like I said, it adds up very quickly. The other con, and I would say it's a con, is the learning curve. If you live in the city and you didn't grow up in the country, you've got a lot to learn. I grew up in the country, raised on a small homestead my whole life. It wasn't as big of a shock, but I moved from Wisconsin. I lived pretty much all over the country, so nothing was too big of a shock. But moving to where we are now in the Ozarks of Arkansas, and I'm not telling you to move here because your dream is probably different than mine, but there is a big learning curve for here. The ground, growing, gardening, things like that. It's very unforgiving here. The bugs, the insects, we have it all. Big learning curve. Everything's different here, everything. And if you live in the city and you're moving to the country, regardless, it's a big change. This is our second homestead. So I will say that right now. This is our second. Our first one was completely different than this one. We're still struggling in a lot of areas, and it's still a learning curve. And this is not our first rodeo, as they say. So keep that in mind. If you've never lived off-grid, if you've never lived in the country, it's an adjustment. So hopefully I didn't scare you away with that. I'm not meaning to, but it's just, you need to realize there's a lot of cons to living this lifestyle. And one that I did a video on, I considered a big con that a lot of people do not think about at all, is the loneliness of homesteading. We don't really have any close neighbors. Closest neighbor is about a mile away, so it's close. Some people don't have any neighbors, but a lot of my neighbors are seasonal, so they're not here all the time. So it's almost like living in a ghost town. We are relatively close to a town, but it still takes a little while to get there. That is one thing to consider. It can be a bit lonely. We sometimes don't leave the homestead for over a week. That is something to keep in mind. If you're a social butterfly and you're just constantly need to be around people, prepare yourself. Depending on where you homestead, you may want to consider a urban homestead, or a lot of things to keep in mind. Okay, and now the pros, and there's a lot of them too. It's one of those things that the reward is worth it, though. I will say that. We have fresh eggs every morning from our chickens, milk from our goats, but we are not 100% self-sufficient. Turn on the power on the house by our solar and our batteries. We power the house. A very good pro, but also an expensive one. It's not cheap, The freedom. We can do anything we want on our property. I could do whatever I want, unlike cities with permits, restrictions, zoning. Out here, if you have more than 10 acres, you're pretty much free to do whatever you want, which is good and bad. Because if you buy a property out here that's over 10 acres, the previous owner did whatever they want, and there's a lot of surprises you will find, but more positives than negatives. The outdoors. I am outside equals to like when I was a little kid playing outside all the time. Like I'm outside right now. I could be inside filming in a little studio, but I'm outside. The recreation. We're a mile away from a very popular river. We're close to hiking everywhere. Should go on the negatives, the cons, the bugs. I don't know if you just saw I had swarming gnats all over my face. You kind of get used to it. Just the freedom to do what you want to do. I mean, this is our land. We get out of it what we put into it. So that is a very big pro. The independence, the peace of mind. So our county is pretty rural, not a lot of people, but there's still a lot of people, and there's electricity out here. Constantly people are losing electricity. We are self-sufficient, water, food, electricity, we're pretty good. So it's one of those peace of mind things. The other thing, in this, not all homesteads, but not all areas, but relatively low crime. This area here is very low crime. Most rural areas in general are very low crime. Balancing the pros and cons. You're going to have both. I mean, there's no way around it. So you need to learn how to balance. And that's one thing just keep in back of your mind. You want the solitude. You're not going to have very many people near you. You're going to be lonely more than likely. You want, to get away from the crowds. You have to get away from the crowds. You want more land. You will have less neighbor. I mean, it's just the way it is. It's just one of those things to keep in mind. Pros and cons, with everything. You want to grow your own food. Well, you have to get out there and plant a garden. You want your eggs in the morning. You need to take care of the chickens. The yin and the yang. One thing you need to realize too is this lifestyle is not for everybody. Some people probably look at me and think we're crazy to live like this. You probably see all the gnats flying around my face. They're pretty bad this time. When we bought our last homestead, we've bought 40 acres, and a lot of my friends at the time were like, why are you buying that? Why do you want all that land? What are you going to do with it all? Why would you want that? It's a foreign concept. But a lot of us want the challenge. We are excited to, take over the land, reclaim it, build something that's ours. There's just a lot of pros, but a lot of negatives. And you just need to keep that in mind. The other thing too you need to realize is that homesteading requires a deep commitment. I mean, it's kind of when we moved out here, we even realized this move out here to the Ozarks was a one-way ticket. We sold our property in a high value area and bought property in an area that doesn't have jobs, doesn't, you know, it's a remote area. So prices are cheaper, but with that being said, our old property, our old place, we can't afford it anymore. It's out of our budget, completely out of our budget. We can never go back. So you need to keep that in mind too. If you're looking for financial independence, which is another pro of homesteading, or a con, because it's expensive, you need to keep that in mind. So, you know, if you're not sure, whatever, like I said, it's a big commitment. So you need to really plan that out and think hard and long about that. So let's give you some tips for success. I'm one of those, I think anybody can live this lifestyle. What are some tips for success? Start small. If it's going to be your first homestead, maybe start in your current location. Start with a smaller property. Like I said, our first homestead, 10 years ago we got it, it was 40 acres. It was a struggle to maintain that. And we had a 10-year rule. We actually hit it by about 6 months. After 10 years, we would never move. It was 9.5 years and we found this place. One of the reasons we wanted to move though, the area we were living at was getting crowded. We wanted to be further away, out in the middle of, you know, nature, such as behind me. Wanted the freedom of the hills. You want to buy once, cry once. You know, you found your dream homestead and it's like 50 acres, 100 acres, 10 acres, whatever, and you want to make it work. If that's the case, so be it, but plan your projects manageable, plan small and realistic. You know, the old saying, how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. So if you buy that 100 acres, 10 acres, whatever it is, plan small, manageable projects for that property. You don't want to burn yourself out, you know, trying to manage 100 acres when you can start managing 10. You know, nothing wrong with our old property. We managed maybe 10 of the 40 acres, and the rest of it was natural prairie and woods. We enjoyed the green space, such as this property here. Our property here has more green space than before, so it's not a problem. The other one too is seek mentorship. Never before has there been more YouTubers like myself, more people in general, discussion groups, forums, whatnot. You can go on there and ask questions. You can ask me anything. Send me a message. I'll be honest. I mean, you know, and not just me. There's plenty of other, you know, homesteaders, and it's good to get a perspective from different people. It's, you know, hopefully they'll tell you the truth. I mean, I'll tell you the truth because it's what else, you know. It's just, it is what it is, you know. You know, maybe you know somebody currently right now that lives out of town, not too far away, that has a farm. Go talk to them. Maybe, you know, you have a relative that has some land or something, you know, go talk to them. Maybe they cut firewood, you know, they have some of the skills you need to learn. Go talk to them. Anybody in general, a lot of older people that have lived a homestead lifestyle love to share their knowledge. They have all this knowledge, and it's worthwhile to go, you know, tap them for that information. Learn from, you know, other people's mistakes. We're making lots of mistakes right now, and I'm hoping the benefit of this channel for me is so people can learn from our mistakes. We're making a lot of mistakes, a lot of things, you know, like I said, this is our second homestead and we're still making mistakes. So it's one of those things to keep in mind. You know, you have to embrace learning. I'm still learning. Even though, like I said, we've had a homestead for 10 years, you know, I thought I knew a lot about solar, thought I knew a lot about, you know, different things, but moving out here, I had to relearn a lot of things. Take the support from locals out here that have helped, because things are just different. Your local people who have lived in that area where you want to move to, are a great resource. Hopefully they'll be accepting. Luckily, we've been accepted here. I don't know if it was just luck. I've heard so many horror stories, and I still hear it to this day from different areas. So, but luckily, our area, we've been accepted. Everybody's been really nice in this area. And what's funny is there are locals that have been here for generations, but the majority of people we've met in this area moved here from somewhere. You know, maybe a decade ago, 20 years ago, but they moved here from somewhere. You know, this dream to homestead and self-sufficient lifestyle, many people share that dream. It's a goal for many. Never has anybody had so much information available to them. You've got, like I said, YouTubers, you've got forums, Reddit, all these there's homesteading groups everywhere, Facebook groups, you know, just go on there. Lots of bad information on there though. Everybody seems to be an expert. Here, I've been homesteading for over 10 years and I am not an expert. You know, if you want honest information and to know about a lot of my failures, come to me. I'll share everything. You need to, yeah, there's, okay. So hopefully that was helpful. This is just a quick, get you motivated to get out there. The other thing too is, God willing, you know, we have time, but we always don't. The best time to start homesteading is today, you know, not tomorrow. So keep that in mind. Our plan too is to prepare our property so it's manageable when we're older. The best time is today. I just read something that the retirement life expectancy is literally 10 years maybe after you retire. Maybe, if you're lucky. So keep that in mind. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, get out there, do some research, take some trips to the country, you know, find an area you want to live, do a lot of research on homesteading. It's a lot of work. There's a big investment of time and hard work, but it is well worth it. And like I said, make that dream a reality. Hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, reach out to me anytime. And thanks again. The main reason you're going to want an ATV or UTV is because there's a lot of walking if you have land. I should have taken my four-wheeler. I got to walk back now. So, not a bad thing. Big camera. I'm still waiting for the temperature in my water to be perfect. It's still warming up. I'm gonna end it there. Thanks. Like and subscribe. I gotta support this shirt. It was a gift. But I love it. I do. So thanks again.